from the city's perspective, can you talk about what percentage would the city of San Antonio be allocating towards the $1.5 million?
If you look at the $1.5 million, and I did a very rough preliminary, I'm a physical therapist, I'm not an accountant. So when I looked at the 1.5 million, I proportionately divided it by population.
Okay.
And when you look at Bexar County, and there, if you take out the city of San Antonio, they're left with about 575,000 people, and San Antonio's just under 1.5. So if you have 23,000 from Bexar County and 581 from San Antonio, of course, proportionally the larger. If we go to the other end of the barbell, we have Travis County with about 13,000 and Austin with about 389,000. So the city of San Antonio would be about 581,000. Austin would be about 389,000. Comal County would be about 29,000. New Braunfels about 37,000. And then Hayes about 70,000. And San Marcos about 27,000.
And how much was Bexar County?
Bexar County was about 23,000.
So I have this is something I think there's a push and pull, between city and county. And I understand it sounds like you're just looking at the ETJ for the county, but the county is also the city. It does overlap. So
Yes.
I would ask to reconsider. Maybe that's something the city and the county can work out as a different percentage perspective, because the city, I think, is taking the bulk of it. Not I think, it is taking the bulk of the funding. So I'd like to work that out maybe better with the
Yes, ma'am.
county.
And if we have a grant, then it's irrelevant. So
let's hope, yeah.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
hoping. I'm hoping we can have a grant to fund the whole thing. But those dollars are just ballpark figures, very much subject to negotiation and working out.
Understood. Thank you. And we have the participation of those counties that you mentioned, and of course the city of Austin, preliminary
Yes.
participation. I guess we're all still talking about it. in the very
Exactly. I
beginning.
have to
Okay.
say, we have done presentations, both virtual and in person. I think they're all very, very interested. San Marcos is unique in that they already connect to Austin because of the university, and that's an established route. But they're very much interested in extending onto New Braunfels, particularly when you look at the explosive growth the automotive industry is having with South Bexar County and the new businesses coming to New Braunfels and to San Marcos, and then, of course, Tesla. And so you really have a tremendous continuum with that industry alone without looking at the universities and the students. Many people feel that the projected ridership between New Braunfels and San Marcos might be the highest, but 20 years ago when I started commuting, there are carpools that have been running since the 80s, connecting San Antonio to Austin. I know when I used to drive and when I'd have to catch a ride, there was one that was had been in existence since the very early 80s here. So those informal networks are already existing and becoming much more difficult with the congestion and with the expense these days.
I have no doubt you have a good amount of ridership from day one. I think to your point, as far back as the 80s, we've had people trying to make that drive a little easier. I am a little concerned about starting in San Antonio at Randolph. I worry about, the folk on the south and west sides of town. And I understand we're in the preliminary stages of this, but I'd like to see a plan to extend to those sides of town. And I understand today that there are via routes from probably all over the city going to it. But the purpose of this is to save us time and money. So,
Yes.
I'd like to see us, and just a thought, I think it'd be great to have maybe an extension to the port or to Brooks that would take over, I think that would cover our city pretty well.
Yes, ma'am. And as VIA has just announced their route, going from Stone Oak to the airport and then going that north-south route gives an excellent opportunity to connect with that or extend to that. So I think there's all sorts of options that can be developed and make it much more viable.
That's a good point, and there is a long-term plan to develop a west-east
Yes.
ART as well. So just briefly before I move on to council comment, I I'm reminded when we talk about this of that phrase, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So I feel like that's what this is. I wish we could have done this, a long time ago. It would be a lot easier now for us to commute to Austin, and we would have maybe a little bit ahead of the growth. But no time like the present, right, to start a plan like this. And I do appreciate that it is a preliminary plan and a pilot. So I'm excited to see how it works out. I hope I can be on one of the inaugural bus rides, because we have to go to Austin all the time. There are cousins up the road, and it's I think this would be really convenient and time saving, and also I think it could be a lot more productive on my ride to Austin if I'm on a bus. So thank you. Any council comment or committee comments? Councilwoman Castillo?